These conservatives, man, they're losing their minds over like milquetoast Joe Biden. Neo shitlib Joe Biden.
That was a topic that people actually went to the polls for, and I think they're going to go to the polls this cycle. I'm riddled with student loan debt. I'm from the congressman's home state of Ohio, and your home state, 1/8 of your population could actually benefit from this program. And I think people should be really careful about making fun of folks who have student loan debts. There are teachers, there are nurses, there are firefighters, there are law enforcement. They are people who are public servants that they're not getting their minimum wage raised because we know the Republicans don't want to do that. They're not getting better school. You're talking about pre-K. It's not like people are passing policies to actually help our education system. There are people who can't get from under it because of the way the interest is set up. And that it is a different type of loan, because when you take out a house mortgage, you can actually sell that house and get rid of that debt. You can't get rid of student loan debt. It is with you for the rest of your life.
The problem is this does absolutely nothing to address the issue of higher education being unaffordable. And the fact that we're saying people who are making six figures, $125,000 a year, are going to have their student debt forgiven, when the The median income in this country is $67,000 a year. I am all for more programs if we want to have loan forgiveness for teachers, for nurses.
What did I just say? What did I just say? I don't even remember what it was, but I made such a good point. And then I pulled Grumpy Cat over here. But I don't remember what I said.
$67,000 a year. I am all for more programs if we want to have loan forgiveness for teachers, for nurses, AmeriCorps, the Peace Corps. Those things work to fill roles that we need to. But just to say you have a graduate degree, but a third of this country didn't even have the opportunity to go to college, to get an associate's degree, didn't have the credit to take out a loan that they later can't pay back. It plays to this notion.
We want everybody to be able to go to college. We want college to be accessible to everybody. Dumb shit.
Sorry, but the Democrats are becoming the party of elites, and Donald Trump played to that. There's a reason working Americans turned out for Donald Trump, who I'm no fan of, but this is playing right into that.
It's a new feeling for me, the third person at the table jumping on top of a dog pile.
Playing the role of Scott Jennings.
Yes.
We flipped this week.
That's right. I think many important and smart things have been said at this table, so I'll just add a couple. I feel like we've reached the Joker phase of the Biden presidency. All we're lacking now is the face paint and a purple suit. He's riding a parade float down Pennsylvania Avenue, just tossing money out the window here, and it's total.
See, I didn't get it. Because I thought he was gonna call Biden the Heath Ledger Joker. And I didn't think that made sense, since that Joker set the money on fire. But he's not. He going back to the Jack Nicholson Joker in the parade float, who's just handing out, like, he's throwing the money out before, like, the balloons release the fucking shit over the crowd. This guy ain't even seen new fucking Batman. He can't even give you a reference in the last 25 years.
I think many important and smart things have been said at this table, so I'll just add a couple. I feel like we've reached the Joker phase of the Biden presidency. All we're lacking now is the face paint and a purple suit. He's riding a parade float down Pennsylvania Avenue, just tossing money out the window here. And it's
if only.
It's completely unconstitutional. It completely is in violation of our norms. You got a president with no agreement from Congress spending up to $500 billion. I mean, this is a massive thing, and it's unprecedented. And Biden ran as someone who was going to restore our norms and restore the balance and restore our,
Keep in mind that $500 billion number. Keep that in mind. Keep that one in mind when I start laying some numbers on you here in a little bit.
Laws and institutions, and this is completely in opposition to all of that, all for politics. Some people have analyzed it that it's for politics for the midterm. This is primary politics. This is a guy who wants to run for re-election, And who in the polling, which group of Democrats hates him the most? The young Democrats. And so it is a payoff for the 2024 primary.
I mean, sure. And since Bernie's up here, I'm sure that's what he's talking about.
Senator Sanders, thanks for joining us again this morning. You just heard Senator Blunt right there. He said this program is unfair. It's going to hurt the economy.
Well, he's wrong. 60% of the benefits go to people who are on Pell Grants. 87% of the benefits go to people who are making $75,000 a year. Look, I know it is shocking, George, to some Republicans that the government actually, on occasion, does something to benefit working families and low-income people. I don't hear any of these Republicans squawking when we give massive tax
This is the way the Republicans looking.
When we have an effective tax rate today, such that the 1% have a lower effective tax rate than working people, where major corporations in a given year don't pay a nickel in federal taxes, that's okay. But suddenly when we do something for working people, it is a terrible idea. I was in Boston last week and I was talking to nurses. And these nurses were telling me that they are working, in some cases, 2 jobs, outrageous hours.
And they're probably telling you that they're getting fucking threats from right-wing idiots being spurred on by fucking Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh.
In order to pay for the student debts that they have accumulated. So in my view, the president did the right thing. And we have got to be really thinking about higher education in general. And in my view, at a time when hundreds of thousands of bright young people can't even afford to go to college, if we're going to be competitive in a global economy, we need to make public colleges and universities tuition free.
As you know, Senator Sanders, it's not just Republicans who have criticized this program. Several of your Democratic colleagues who are up for re-election this year have criticized it as well. Michael Bennett said President Biden should have included a plan.
Michael Bennett sucks.
Catherine Cortez Mastro, she says it doesn't address the root cause of college affordability.
Now that is a fair point.
In Ohio said it's unfair to those with student loans without student loans who are struggling.
That is not a fair point. The only point made there that Stephanopoulos brought up was that it doesn't do anything to address the root cause, which is absolutely fucking true. But I'm pretty sure that Bernie is going to have a solution for that root cause.
Well, the truth is...
now, it does... Voodoo, it does address a couple of things. Let's give it credit for what it does do. It caps the interest rate at 5%, and it also it caps the time frame. Like, you can't pay more than 10 years. So it does do fucking something.
Criticism is correct, but the answer is not to deny help to people who cannot deal with these horrendous student debts, who are delaying getting married, delaying even having children. The answer is that maybe, just maybe, we want to have a government that works for all working people and not just the people on top. So the answer, I think, is to say, yeah,
seems fair to me.
A working person right now, you're worried about what happens to you when you are retiring. Well, maybe we should demand that the wealthiest people in this country start paying their fair share of taxes so we can expand Social Security, improve the benefits, and protect those workers. Maybe we should raise the minimum wage to a living wage for low-income workers. Maybe we should do what every other...
What a novel idea.
And guarantee health care to all people as a human right, rather than spending twice as much per capita on health care as other countries and leaving 70 million Americans uninsured and underinsured. Maybe we should have the courage to take...
I actually had a dude on Twitter the other day argue with me, saying, tried to make the point that... of all the problems we're facing, regulating the tech industry against censorship of conservatives it would cost the least to fix. It would cost less than fixing health care. And I'm like, motherfucker, Medicare for all would save us money. And I showed him multiple things saying that. I'm like, you're wanting to fucking regulate an industry for a problem that doesn't exist and trying to make the argument to me that it would cost less than fixing healthcare when I'm telling you fixing healthcare would save us fucking money. Idiots.
On the drug companies and not pay 10 times more for a particular drug than they do in other countries. So the answer is not to do what Republicans want to do, is like, oh, it's unfair to this person because we're helping that person. The answer is maybe to create a government which works for all people and not just for wealthy campaign contributors. And by the way, George, we don't talk about this enough. We got to deal with this massive income and wealth inequality. 3 people on top owning more wealth than the bottom half of American society. That's some of the issues that we got to deal with.
You can't address any of those without more Democrats in the Senate. How are you feeling about the midterms right now? We know there are a lot of headwinds.
Pretty fucking good, actually, George.
Over the course of the summer.
Yeah, I think that what the Supreme Court did in saying to every woman in America, you can't control your own body. Your state government will make a decision on this most personal matter of an abortion. I think that the American people are saying, excuse me, in America, in the year 2022, women will make that decision. And I think that decision is going to reverberate very poorly for Republicans who think that women do not have a right to control their own bodies. I think the gun violence that we have seen is also going to play a role.
I just wanted to hear what Bernie had to say about the student loan debacle that we're currently going through, because Bill Maher had a lot to say about student loan forgiveness. And, to properly represent the left, he had Amy Klobuchar on. So we're going to get some of that Globementum. I don't know who else was on the panel. I don't know if they're still doing
college
2 guests.
It's interesting.
I don't know if they're back to 3 guests yet.
College loans. There are other.
Oh, it's Amy Klobuchar and Meathead, Rob Reiner. So Meathead might actually throw us some relief here from Bill Maher's insufferability.
Other people in America, the vast majority of Americans, didn't go to college, and they don't have college.
And I'm not using that as a pejorative. He played a character. Well, I guess Archie Bunker was using it as a pejorative on All in the Family. But Archie always called it. I don't even remember what the character's name was. But he was Meathead.
So they're a little pissed about this. They're like, there are plumbers out there saying, well, why don't you pay off my truck instead? Because that's what my money went to, my life went to. It's amazing to me when I read in the paper today how many Democrats are divided about this. They're not completely behind this idea that Joe Biden is paying off people's student loans. So where are you on that one?
I think during the presidential.
His bougie Hollywood friends aren't against Joe Biden paying off people's loans.
You just can't staple a diploma for free under everyone's chair. Part of that is I think we need to focus on apprenticeships and filling the hard-to-fill jobs. That being said, Bill, this...
Mandy, are you asking if I'm still alive or Bill Maher is still alive? Bill Maher is still alive when he's on, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I quit watching it like 5 years ago. Am I live? I don't think so. I'm actually a tape record right now. You're watching like a replay of an earlier episode of the Troll Patrol. So I'm glad I could clear that up for you.
Is more targeted than a bunch of the proposals that were out there. And 87% of the money goes to people that are making less than 70.
And then I gotta assume I really fucked with your head.
I was on crack.
Right. $5,000 a year. You've got, it will help nurses. It helps nurses. It helps teachers. It helps electricians. A bunch of people have community college loans. That being said, if I could wave a magic wand and do what I want to do, I would have actually tied it to the hard-to-fill jobs. We have 10 million job openings right now in our country. 2 million of them are in healthcare, assisted living. So if people will go into those jobs...
Honey, let me tell you how to fix your job shortage if we have a job shortage. Pay more. Pay more. Simple. You can't find somebody, pay more money.
Instead of being like hedge fund managers, then we could actually put the loan repayment help and have it connected to people going into the jobs that we need to fill. I think that would be a way you can do it. But I do think it's important for people to understand that this is a targeted program that he put out.
50 years ago,
Yeah, the thing about a degree having a worth, Tones, like I've seen a lot of people be like, elective classes shouldn't be a thing. It isn't. It doesn't go towards your degree. I'm like, it goes toward making you a well-rounded person that can critically think and knows about a swath of topics. Like, you don't want people coming out and only being educated in one specific thing. You want to try to get a survey of classes.
70% of good jobs required a high school diploma. Now, they say 70%.
That's the technical school argument as well.
So I know this is like supposed to address income inequality, but it kind of does the reverse, because it's the people who have college degrees.
Yeah, but there are also parents of those kids who don't have college degrees who want their kids to be able to go to college so that they can have a better life than they did. And we have to address the cost of going to college. I mean, I'm an old man, but when I went to college, you know, at UCLA, it cost me $242 to go to school.
Yeah, we're going to get into that here in a second.
It's crazy what you have to pay, and it's unfortunate, and it does target the kids that are most in need.
But I keep saying on this show, no one's listening, but I keep saying...
Well, it's your show.
I know.
Because you suck.
I'm just saying nobody, eventually they follow my lead, but it takes years.
A decade.
Takes years and someone else to claim it. Anyway, but I keep saying it's not about affordability. Yes, college is unaffordable. It's about making college more unnecessary. It's a giant scam. It's a consumer product that they're selling you.
Oh, no, see, you're complaining about capitalism. You can't make colleges compete in a capitalist society and compete for students and then get upset that they behave in a capitalist manner. It sucks. Joey, good evening. Welcome.
Not really getting any education.
Exactly. Just pretend it's a tax cut for the rich.
Look at the job you have. You're a big-time guy and have your own show. Would you have your own show? Maybe you would. I don't know.
Yes, I would.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah. No,
I mean, actually,
Yeah,
yes.
but you wouldn't qualify for the loan repayment. Income.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Oh, Klobuchar.
Not really require. It's a scam.
Drop the Klob hammer on him.
Nurses. I've talked to so many nurses. My mother was a nurse. I still know many nurses that were friends. Okay, administrators, teachers, they all have this complaint that at a certain point they need more education to like advance in their career. When really they know exactly what they're doing. They don't. It's just a way to make you go back to school. And I feel like education is to Democrats what tax cuts are to Republicans. They think it solves everything.
Well, it's not just upper education. You're also talking about K through 12. Yeah. And that's something the Democrats have cared about forever. And you see Republicans moving away from public education. That, to me, is where the
actively hostile to public education, Rob.
Should go to college. If you want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer, you want to do something that, you want to be in the space industry, you have to go to college. There are other jobs that you don't need college for. Yeah. And so you have to make that choice.
I think you and I have shared this view. We're not going to...
I hate how, like, everything's about, like, how much money you make. Well, like, why is that what we focus on? A lot of people want to go to college just to take classes. I want that to be a thing. People can go to college and take classes if they want to. Just because you want to learn about a subject. My God, we're so fucked up as a society.
A shortage of sports marketing degrees here. We're going to have a shortage of plumbers, electricians. We have a shortage of nurses, technology workers. And some of those jobs...
Pay them more.
We just got to meet people where they are, and that's why I'd like to tie it to the jobs that we need to fill.
Your idea is stupid. Just pay more. I'm going to hit you with a couple of opinion columns. But they got some facts I want to lay on you. And one of them is from LA, the other one is from Alabama. This is from AL.com. The hidden subsidy behind those old bootstrap students. U.S. Rep. Barry Moore thinks everybody should pay for college just like he did, with sweat. It's a rough and rugged sentiment. In America, we lift ourselves up by our bootstraps, which is stupid. It's impossible. And is one shared by many of his Alabama Republican colleagues in Congress, like Mike Rogers, who called Biden's plan socialism, Senator Tommy Tuberville, who said it's unfair to those who paid their own way, Representative Gary Palmer called it a raw abuse of power. Only there's one thing missing. Most of Moore's education expenses were covered by the state. And no, I'm not talking about Moore's GI Bill. Rather, when these lawmakers were in school, state appropriations paid for most of the freight for anyone attending a public university. And that was the way it was across the country. It varied depending on state. It was somewhere between about 75% and 95% paid for depending on the state you lived in. And for Palmer, who graduated from the University of Alabama, or for Rogers, who went to Jacksonville State in East Alabama, back then you didn't have to hope for a bailout on the back end. These guys got their subsidized schooling up front, and they probably never even knew it. In 1980, student tuition at Alabama public colleges and universities accounted for 27% of all revenue. That other 73%, where did most of that money come from to run a state college? It came from state and federal funding, 73% in Alabama. In addition to foundations and other nonprofit institutions. But it mostly came from the state. Every time Moore tugged on one of his bootstraps, somebody else pulled on the other three. Moore and his pals in the Alabama delegation should really say thank you to you, the taxpayers who paid most of their way through college. But I'm not so sure you got your money's worth. This is what I tell baby boomers all the time. You got your way pretty much paid for. But it's also like because it was built into it, they don't realize it. They're like, I worked and paid my way through college. Same is true in California, but they got a bigger chunk of their college paid for. Republicans attacking student loan relief as a taxpayer burden got their own degrees on taxpayer dime. President Biden's student loan relief proposal, including a freeze on payments through the end of the year and forgiveness of 10 and 20 grand in loan balances, has elicited predictable cries of outrage from Republicans. A slap in the face to working Americans, says Turtle Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, graduate of 2 public universities in his home state. They're graduates of public state universities, generally in the era when in-state tuition at those institutions was far, far lower than it is today, even accounting for inflation. Who picked up the tab back then? Taxpayers. Put it all together, and one can see that Republican chorus against student loan relief ranks as one of the most stupendous outpourings of sanctimonious, hypocritical claptrap in recent memory. But let's not speak in generalities. Let's look at specifics. Start with House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, who called the student relief plan Biden's debt transfer scam and said it will fall upon hardworking Americans. In 1989, when McCarthy received his undergraduate degree from Cal State Bakersfield, tuition was less than $1,300 a year, thanks to financial support from hardworking Californians. Adjusted for inflation, that would be about $2,800 today. Annual tuition at Cal State today is $5,742, more than twice as high. Move on to Representative Doug LaMalfa. LaMalfa is one of my favorite California political hypocrites. He's the guy who bellied up to the taxpayer trough with other family members to collect more than $5.5 million in federal crop subsidies while voting to cut food stamp benefits for low-income Americans. LaMalfa tweeted that Biden's plan only transfers that greater than a $300 billion payment to blue-collar workers. LaMalfa received an agriculture degree from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I'm sorry, I fucked it up. sometime in the early 1980s. Back then, tuition at Cal Poly came at about $380 a year. $380 a year. Tuition now at Cal Poly, $10,000 a year. California Republicans aren't the only recipients of largesse from the taxpayers of your grousing about the effect of higher education subsidies on taxpayers of today. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell calls Biden's planned student loan socialism a slap in the face to hardworking Americans. McConnell received his bachelor's degree in 1964 from the University of Louisville, a public municipal university at the time, and a law degree from the University of Kentucky. Tuition at Louisville was $330 a year when McConnell was there, or about $3,200 in today's money. It's now $6,162 for state residents. How about Senator Charles Grassley, who tweeted that Biden's plan is unfair? His tweet stated to people making up to $125,000 or a couple making up to $250,000 are getting student loans paid for by everyone else who didn't go to college or paid their own loans. Grassley received his undergraduate degree from Iowa State Teachers College, now the University of Northern Iowa, in 1955. That's how old these fucks are. 1955. Tuition during his time there was $40 per quarter or $160 per year, about $1,700 in today's money. Tuition is just shy of $10,000 or more than 5 times as much. That's not the only angle I want to come at this from here tonight. Let's talk about fossil fuel subsidies. Remember when I told you to keep that $500 billion number in your head? $500 billion. Not quite $500 billion is what the Biden proposal costs. Fossil fuels received, this is from Yale Environment, and I looked it up to make sure that it was Yale University. It is indeed Yale University that put this out. This was published on October 6th of 2021. It was a report detailing 2020 subsidies for fossil fuels. The fossil fuel industry received from our government in 1 year $5.9 trillion in subsidies. ExxonMobil is the most profitable company in the history of the world. The amount of subsidies that ExxonMobil receives in 1 year could pay for all student loan debt twice over. The United States government gave the fossil fuel industry almost $6 trillion in 1 year. Anyone saying anything about any kind of student loan forgiveness, whether it's the current proposal from Biden to cancel 10 and 20 grand, which, by the way, I will give you guys the details on how you can go about filling out your application for that. The application is not open yet. I checked that earlier. But I will get that information to you guys because you have to be proactive about it. It's just not automatically going to roll off. Anyone complaining about that proposal or canceling student debt, because we're talking it's minuscule. It's minuscule. Let me tell you what the actual number for student loan debt right now is. I'm bad at math, so somebody needs to do the math for me. The current amount of total student loan debt, including that held by the federal government and private loans, is $1.75 trillion. Now, I'm bad at math. That's a third of what we give fossil fuel companies, one of which is the most profitable company in the history of the world. The entire largesse of student loan debt is a third of what we give fossil fuel companies in 1 year. I rest my case. Fuck off anybody who is against total forgiveness of student debt. And we should not be shoveling that money at fossil fuel companies. And we should use that money to, I don't know, provide health care and education to every citizen. What a novel fucking idea.